Francisco José de Goya y Lucientes's painting, The Burial of Christ, created around 1771 to 1772, stands as a significant example of religious art from the early phase of his independent career. Measuring 250 by 149 centimeters and executed in oil on canvas, the work is currently housed in the Museo de Zaragoza in Spain. This painting depicts the biblical moment following the crucifixion as Christ's body is prepared for burial. The subject was a common one in ecclesiastical commissions of the period, intended to evoke contemplation and reverence in viewers. Goya's approach to this theme reflects both his academic training and his engagement with the Baroque tradition, which was still influential in Spanish art at the time. Examining the composition, Goya arranges the figures in a carefully structured manner that draws the viewer's attention directly to the central figure of Christ. The mourners and angels form a semicircular grouping around Christ's body, creating a sense of intimacy and focus. This arrangement is not accidental. It is designed to guide the eye and foster a direct emotional connection with the scene. The figures display a range of expressive gestures and postures. Some gently support Christ's body, their hands carefully placed beneath him, while others bow their heads in prayer or gaze upon him in solemn reflection. The diagonal positioning of Christ's body, combined with the flowing lines of the drapery, introduces a subtle dynamism to the otherwise still and somber scene. These compositional choices reflect the influence of Baroque models, emphasizing both the emotional engagement of the figures and their dramatic interaction. A closer look at the painting reveals Goya's skillful use of light and shadow, a technique known as Chiaroscuro. The illumination in the scene is concentrated on Christ's body, highlighting the pallor of his skin and the anatomical detail of his form. This strong contrast with the darker, more subdued background serves to isolate Christ visually, making him the undeniable focal point. The surrounding figures are partially enveloped in shadow, which not only adds depth to the composition, but also introduces an element of mystery. This handling of light is characteristic of Goya's academic training in Italy, where he would have studied works by masters of the Baroque, such as Caravaggio and Guercino. The effect is both dramatic and contemplative, enhancing the spiritual aura that surrounds the central event. At the time he painted The Burial of Christ, Goya was at a pivotal point in his early career. Having recently returned from a formative period of study in Italy, he was eager to establish himself within the Spanish artistic community and to secure commissions from religious institutions. The painting demonstrates his command of academic techniques, as well as his responsiveness to prevailing artistic currents. His association with Francisco Bayeu, a leading painter in Madrid, whose sister Josefa he would soon marry, played a crucial role in Goya's professional advancement. This connection provided him with access to influential networks and opportunities for commissions. The Burial of Christ predates Goya's later appointment as court painter to the Spanish monarchy and the stylistic innovations that would come to define his mature and late works. It is, in many respects, an example of a young artist demonstrating his abilities within the conventions of the time, while also seeking to distinguish himself. Spotting the symbolic elements within the painting, one notices that the drapery and gestures carry meanings typical of religious art in the 18th century. The white cloths used to wrap Christ's body are traditionally associated with purity and, by extension, the promise of resurrection. The careful handling of these cloths by the mourners and angels conveys a sense of reverence and care, reinforcing the sacred nature of the event. The gestures of the surrounding figures express a spectrum of emotions, from overt sorrow, seen in the bowed heads and clasped hands, to more contemplative attitudes, as some figures appear lost in thought. The inclusion of angels, identifiable by their wings, further emphasizes the divine aspect of the scene. While interpretations of specific gestures or details may vary among scholars, there is general agreement that these elements serve to underscore the solemn and sacred character of the burial, rather than introducing speculative or unorthodox meanings. Zooming in on the depiction of Christ himself, Goya renders the figure with considerable anatomical precision, likely reflecting both his academic training and his study of classical sculpture during his Italian sojourn. The musculature and the relaxed pose of the body are handled with care, lending a sense of realism to the depiction. The face of Christ is serene, with closed eyes and a peaceful expression, which contrasts with the visible grief of the mourners. This juxtaposition may be read as an allusion to the Christian belief in the redemptive power of Christ's sacrifice, though Goya avoids over-dramatization, opting instead for a restrained and contemplative mood. Turning to the provenance and current location of the painting, the Burial of Christ is today part of the collection at the Museo de Zaragoza. The museum, located in the Aragonese capital, holds an extensive collection of regional art and artifacts. While the precise history of the painting's ownership prior to its acquisition by the museum is not extensively documented, it is known to have remained in Spain since its creation.
The large scale and religious subject matter of the work suggests that it may have originally been commissioned for a church or other ecclesiastical setting, which was common practice for artists seeking to establish their reputations in 18th century Spain.
Over time, as Goya's fame grew and his artistic legacy became more widely recognized, the painting came to be valued not only for its devotional content, but also as an important document of his early development as an artist. In terms of its place within Goya's broader career, The Burial of Christ provides valuable insight into the formative influences that shaped his approach to painting. The work demonstrates his familiarity with academic conventions, his technical proficiency, and his sensitivity to the emotional and symbolic demands of religious art. It also foreshadows some of the qualities that would later define his mature style, such as his interest in the expressive potential of light and his ability to convey complex emotional states through gesture and composition. However, it is important to note that this painting remains firmly rooted in the traditions of its time. The more innovative and personal aspects of Goya's art would emerge in later decades, particularly after his appointment as court painter and his subsequent engagement with themes of social critique and psychological depth. The painting's significance today lies in its dual role as both a work of religious devotion and a milestone in the career of one of Spain's most celebrated artists. For viewers, it offers an opportunity to observe Goya at a moment of transition, as he assimilates the lessons of his academic training and prepares to embark on a path that would ultimately lead to some of the most influential works in European art history. The Burial of Christ stands as a testament to the enduring power of traditional themes and techniques, even as it marks the emergence of a distinctive artistic voice. Its preservation in the Museo de Zaragoza ensures that it remains accessible to scholars and the public alike, allowing for ongoing study and appreciation of Goya's early achievements within the broader context of Spanish art.